In the scorching heat of Scottsdale, Arizona, amidst a row of elegant mansions, Margaret Thompson was anxiously taking a phone call. She hadn't even finished washing the dishes from her Eggs Benedict breakfast. "Mrs. Maggie, I'm so sorry, but there's something concerning about Tommy." On the other end of the line was the teacher's room at Desert Mountain Elementary School. The voice belonged to Sarah Johnson, Maggie's colleague of 30 years who was now Tommy's teacher. Her usually calm tone carried a hint of tension. "He's been wearing the same shirt for a week now. And there are bruises on his arms. Yesterday, he refused to change for PE class." Maggie caught her breath. Just yesterday at Sunday service, her grandson had shown his usual adorable smile. At First Presbyterian Church's Sunday school, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. He had hummed along to the hymns and listened intently to the Bible stories as always. When I checked with his parents, they said, "The house is just a bit messy during renovations." But Sarah's voice trailed off. In Maggie's mind flashed the social media posts of her son David and his new wife Ashley. Photos showing perfect smiles. The two of them playing the ideal family on their YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers. Between videos about how to succeed in real estate investment, they would lecture about how to create a happy family. "Mrs. Maggie, we teachers have a duty to report. But I thought first, you might." Outside the window, Scottsdale's merciless sun beat down relentlessly. In her air-conditioned room, Maggie felt an icy chill of anxiety. Her lunch plans with her book club friends suddenly seemed very distant. A year ago, when Ashley joined the family, things had started to change gradually. A beauty influencer boasting 300,000 Instagram followers, she played the role of the perfect stepmother. It had been just 2 years since David's first wife, Tommy's mother, had died in a car accident. Their marriage had been sudden. Lately, Ashley had been posting more about her fertility treatments. Under the title, "Dreams of a New Family," she shared her journey on social media. Each post garnered tens of thousands of likes. Below them, David would always comment, "Best wife ever," or "Such an understanding mother." Maggie stood up and looked out the kitchen window. The spire of First Presbyterian Church gleamed in the morning sun. Tommy had been with her as usual on Sunday. Come to think of it, he did seem a bit thinner. But when they had ice cream together at AJ's Fine Foods, his smile had seemed genuine. Since losing her husband George 3 years ago, Sundays with Tommy had become Maggie's reason for living. Baking chocolate chip cookies, playing in the neighborhood park, reading at the library. These promises had become their mutual support. She remembered discussing how to recognize child abuse at the Retired Teachers Association meeting. The words, "children's changes always show up as signs," now came back to her with new weight. "Thank you, Sarah. I'll check right away." After hanging up, Maggie stared at the photo on her refrigerator. It was taken the day she decided to spend every Sunday with Tommy after her husband's funeral. Her grandson, only 4 at the time, had tried his best to smile through the grief. Maggie made up her mind. This might be a danger signal that her instincts as a former teacher were picking up. Her more than 30 years of teaching experience was whispering, "Something's wrong." She canceled her yoga class and grabbed her car keys. As she drove through Scottsdale's quiet residential streets, she thought with an almost prayer-like feeling. Please, let this just be me being overanxious. But deep down, she already knew. She had to act now. At 2 p.m., under Arizona's merciless sun, Maggie's car quietly pulled up in front of David's mansion. Similar grand houses lined the street, their perfectly manicured lawns reflecting the light. She pressed the intercom, but there was no response. David's luxury car wasn't there. Ashley's BMW was nowhere to be seen. She pressed again. Silence continued. Officially, David and Ashley were supposed to be away on a business trip for social media filming. Their latest posts showed them creating the perfect couple's holiday on a San Diego beach. But considering Tommy's condition at school, Maggie couldn't wait. Walking along the paved pathway, Maggie reflected on how her son and daughter-in-law had changed. Since Ashley joined the family, the house's atmosphere had changed dramatically. Old family photos had disappeared, replaced by Ashley's beauty products and ring lights for selfies. Even Tommy's drawings had quietly vanished from the walls. As she headed toward the backyard, she heard a faint sound. The once well-maintained garden was now overgrown with weeds. The rose bed had withered, and the small vegetable garden was in ruins. She noticed an old SUV parked in the shadow of the garage. Its windows seemed to be covered with cardboard from the inside. Her instincts told her something's wrong. Tommy. Maggie called softly. A slight noise from the car. Then. Grandma, help me. When she heard that weak voice, Maggie's blood ran cold. It had the same resonance as the voices of abused children she had encountered several times during her teaching career. She carefully approached and opened the driver's side door. Heat and a lived-in smell filled the car. An Arizona summer car interior was like an oven. A dirty futon was laid on the floor, with clothes scattered about. An extension cord ran through the window, powering a small fan that was barely running. The bottled water was warm from the heat. And there was Tommy, curled up trembling in the back seat. His once adorable smile was gone, replaced by an expression worn down by fear and exhaustion. Tommy. Grandma. I'm sorry. I'm a bad boy. The bruises weren't just on his arms. They were on his back and legs too. Bruises in various stages, from new to old, overlapped. There were half-eaten snack bags scattered about, and signs that he had tried to do homework under a flashlight. His school backpack was carefully placed in a corner, with textbooks and notebooks surprisingly neatly arranged inside. How long have you been here? Tommy's voice trembled. About 2 weeks. I get up early and sneak in through the back door to take a shower. I make sure no one sees me. I keep the shower sound quiet. What about food? Are you hungry? School lunch, and sometimes Mommy brings me bread. But. Tommy choked on his words. She says she wants a baby. She says the baby won't come if I'm around. With those words, Maggie understood everything. Ashley's fertility treatments. Her perfect stepmother act on social media. And a 6-year-old stepson treated as an unwanted obstacle. What about Daddy? Does Daddy know? Tommy nodded slightly. Daddy doesn't want to upset Mommy. He says the YouTube view count is important. Looking around the car, she could see Tommy's desperate efforts. His clothes showed signs of hand washing, and his textbooks were carefully wrapped in plastic. It was as if he was trying to be a good boy, even in these harsh conditions. Maggie took out her phone and started taking pictures. The car's condition, Tommy's bruises, traces of living, she documented everything. She recorded video too. For the first time since losing her husband, she felt real anger. Tommy, it's going to be okay now. Grandma will definitely help you. She hugged her grandson. His small body was trembling. His cheeks, wet with sweat and tears, still showed traces of childhood. But Daddy and Mommy will be angry. Don't worry. This is wrong. No matter what the reason, you should never treat a child like this. Maggie steeled her resolve. Before calling her son and his wife, she needed to gather evidence and make necessary preparations. This was no longer just a family matter. It was about the life and dignity of a human being, of a child. From the sweltering car, Maggie dialed David's number with trembling fingers. Her phone screen displayed the evidence photos she had just taken. Tommy was curled up small in the passenger seat, wrapped in his grandmother's old cardigan. The phone rang several times before finally connecting. Mom? I'm kind of busy right now. In the background, she could hear waves. A woman's laughter. The response came from a luxury resort in San Diego. David, we need to talk about Tommy. Maggie tried to keep her voice as calm as possible. Huh? Tommy's fine. School is. Ashley's voice interrupted. We're filming at a luxury resort right now. Don't interfere with our important work. Her voice held none of the kindness she showed in her social media posts. Don't interfere. Maggie's voice trembled low. You too have. David, our followers are waiting. This fertility treatment documentary could lead to a contract. Ashley's voice urged in the background. Mom, let's talk later. This is our important time. David's voice. No trace of her former son remained. Waves, laughter, the sound of champagne glasses clinking. I found Tommy, Maggie said quietly. Living alone in a car. A moment of silence. That's because of the home renovation. David's voice carried a hint of unease. Renovation? Maggie's voice turned ice cold. You mean turning Tommy's room into a beauty room? And making your son sleep in a car? In this Arizona heat? Mom, if we talk, you'll understand. Ashley's voice cut in. That child is preventing me from having a baby. He's interfering with my treatment. Her voice was now hysterical. David Thompson, Maggie said in the stern voice she had cultivated over 30 years of teaching. You will come back right now. Otherwise, the next conversation will be with the police and child services. Mom, don't threaten us. Our channel. Channel? Maggie scoffed. I wonder how your 500,000 subscribers would react to a video of your son sleeping in a car. On the other end, hurried noises. Ashley's cry of, "Are you trying to ruin everything?" David's voice saying, "Calm down. Come home within 2 hours. Or else." Maggie hung up. Looking at Tommy trembling in the car, Maggie was considering her next move. She had enough evidence. Now. Her phone vibrated. A flood of messages. "Mom, please. Don't ruin our lives. This is none of your business. Don't interfere. We can settle this for any amount." Maggie ignored them all. Instead, she called Jennifer, a former student who now worked at Child Services. "Jenny. This is Margaret Thompson. It's an emergency." While she explained the situation on the phone, another police car arrived. Neighbors were peering from their windows. Some were pointing smartphones. "Tommy," Maggie spoke gently to her grandson. "Things might be a bit difficult for a while. But Grandma will always be right here with you. Daddy and Mommy will be angry." Tommy's voice was filled with anxiety. "Sometimes, adults make wrong choices. But you're not at fault. Absolutely not at fault." Maggie took a deep breath. In over 30 years of teaching, she had faced numerous abuse cases. But this was different. This was abuse by her own son. Betrayal of her own grandson. And now, it was time to put an end to it all. Police sirens echoed through Scottsdale's elegant residential area. Red and blue lights crossed over perfectly manicured lawns. Breaking the silence of the upscale neighborhood, David's Porsche screeched to a halt. "What is the meaning of this?" David jumped out of the driver's seat, still in his beachwear. His eyes behind his sunglasses were filled with anger and fear. Ashley got out of the passenger seat. She wore only a designer swimsuit with a cardigan thrown over it. Clutching the latest iPhone, she was desperately trying to delete something. "It's all ruined, everything." Her muttering had taken on a hysterical tone. Then, Child Services worker Jennifer Wilson approached. "Mr. David Thompson, Mrs. Ashley Thompson. This is a misunderstanding." David shouted. "The house is under renovation." "Renovation?" Maggie said as she got out of the car. "Then what's this?" Photos and videos recorded on the smartphone. Evidence of life in the car. Tommy's bruises all over his body. Neighbors were coming out onto the street one after another. Residents of the luxury neighborhood. People who usually pretended to be indifferent to each other were now all fixated on this scene. Smartphone cameras flashed here and there. "Ma'am," one of the officers reached for Ashley's smartphone. "Due to suspicion of evidence tampering, we'll need to temporarily confiscate that device." "No!" Ashley screamed. "My followers want to see a perfect family. That child is in the way. I want a baby." Her voice turned hysterical. "A perfect family." Maggie's voice was freezing cold. "Making your son sleep in a car. In this scorching heat." At that moment, Tommy came out of the car. His small body was still wrapped in Maggie's cardigan. "Daddy." With that one word, the blood drained from David's face. "Little one," Jennifer spoke gently. "Shall we go to the hospital? And could you tell us your story?" Tommy looked up at Maggie uncertainly. "Grandma, will you come with me?" "Of course." Maggie held her grandson's small hand. "Wait!" Ashley screamed. "If that child is at home, my treatment, my followers." "Be quiet." Maggie's voice thundered. "David, I'll tell you this too. As a father, as a human being, you made the worst possible choice. If George were alive, how sad he would be." David's face turned pale. At the mention of his late father, his bravado began to crumble. Just then, one of the officers called out, "We've checked the security camera footage." On the large screen of the police vehicle, footage played. "Get out. You're just in the way." The footage showed Ashley forcing Tommy into the car. "Daddy, it's cold. Bear with it. Do what Mommy says." David's cold voice. Sighs escaped from the neighbors. More smartphone cameras appeared. "This is clear child abuse," the officer said. "Both of you will need to come to the station." Just then, Ashley's smartphone rang. A message from her agency appeared on the screen. "This is trending on social media. All contracts terminated." Then David's phone too. "Abuse allegations spreading. Channel suspended." Ashley's scream echoed through the residential area. "My life, my followers." David just stood there, dumbfounded. No trace of the former successful man remained. The perfect father from social media was gone. "Tommy," Maggie hugged her grandson. "It's okay now. No one can hurt you anymore." The child services worker was preparing documents. Officers were handcuffing David and Ashley. And the silence of the residential area was completely shattered. Maggie walked toward the ambulance, still holding Tommy. "Grandma," Tommy said in a small voice. "I don't have to sleep in the car anymore." "No, I will never let that happen." Maggie's voice carried strong determination. As the sun began to set over Scottsdale, a new wind was beginning to blow. 6 months after the incident, on a winter morning, Arizona's gentle sunlight warmed the kitchen of Maggie's new home. She had sold her previous house and bought this one near Desert Mountain High School for her new life with Tommy. A lemon tree was planted in the garden, and a small vegetable garden had been created. "Grandma, I finished my homework." Tommy's voice rang out from his room on the second floor. Unlike his previously frightened voice, it was now full of confidence. "Well done," Maggie answered with a smile. On the kitchen counter, chocolate chip cookies were waiting to be baked. The walls were decorated with Tommy's new drawings. Through twice-weekly psychological counseling, he had gradually become able to express his past trauma through art. From dark-colored car drawings to brightly colored family pictures. The change was definitely progressing. "Good morning, Maggie." Sarah Watson from next door called over the garden fence. As the leader of the local neighborhood watch, she actively helped keep an eye on Tommy. "Would it be all right if I took Tommy to the park with my kids after school today?" Maggie nodded happily. The community's support was more heartening than she had imagined. The members of First Presbyterian Church had also warmly welcomed Tommy back to Sunday school and continued to pray for his recovery. On the table lay a newspaper with coverage of the incident. Influencer couple receives prison sentence for child abuse. Shocking case exposes dark side of social media. David and Ashley were imprisoned in separate facilities. The sentence had been severe: child abuse, neglect, and attempted evidence tampering. Ashley's fraudulent posts about fertility treatments were also scrutinized as fraud. The incident had sent shockwaves through the social media industry. What was really happening behind the facade of perfect families? This case would likely be remembered as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing viewer counts above all else. "Hey, Grandma," Tommy came down the stairs, speaking somewhat hesitantly. "What is it, dear? Do you think Daddy and Mommy are really reflecting on what they did in prison?" The question carried his lingering attachment to his parents and complicated emotions. Maggie sat down beside her grandson. "Those two need a lot of time, sweetheart. Time to think about what they did wrong, and what a real family truly means." In the rehabilitation program, David had begun showing signs of change. Ashley, however, was reportedly still trying to justify her actions. "But remember," Maggie continued, "you're not alone anymore. You have Grandma. Your teachers, Mrs. Sarah next door, everyone at church, we're all on your side." Tommy nodded slightly. On the desk lay his school report card. His evaluation had changed from "needs attention" to "excellent." He had made more friends and was enjoying his break times. The aroma of cookies wafted from the oven. "I'll help." Tommy jumped up energetically. Gone was his former withdrawn demeanor. "Oh, and today is book club day," Maggie said. "Everyone wants to see you." The book club members had been devotedly supportive over these 6 months. Starting with reading stories aloud, Tommy could now choose and read books by himself. Outside the window, neighborhood children rode past on their bicycles. Among them was Tommy's best friend Jason, who waved and called out, "Let's play after school." "Can I go?" Tommy's eyes sparkled. "Of course. But first." Maggie took the cookies out of the oven. "Let's taste these fresh from the oven." They laughed together over cookies. Maggie felt anew how precious these simple moments of happiness were. In the mailbox at the front door was a letter from Child Protective Services. It was official notification that permanent custody of Tommy had been transferred to Maggie. A new kind of family. Perhaps not perfect, but one bound by genuine love and real connections. The loneliness of living without her husband George still pierced her heart at times. But her days with Tommy were surely giving new meaning to her life. "Grandma," Tommy said, his mouth full of cookie. "Thank you for saving me." Maggie hugged her grandson. What a journey they had made from that small "help me" she had heard in the car. Outside the window, Arizona's winter sunlight